President Joe Biden has expanded federal health care for veterans.
Today, he signed the PACT Act, also known as burn pits legislation, into law. The law helps veterans suffering from cancer after toxic exposure while serving overseas. Many bases in Iraq and Afghanistan used burn pits to dispose of waste. That created toxic smoke, which was inhaled by military personnel. The Department of Veterans Affairs has denied the vast majority of disability claims involving pit exposure. President Biden says this legislation will change that.
Less than 1% of you, less than 1% of you risk everything to defend 99% of the population. 1% risk 99%. We owe you. You're the backbone, you're the steel, you're the sinew, you're the very fiber that makes this country what it is. And that's not hyperbole, it's a fact. As a nation, we have many obligations. I've been saying this for a long, long time. We have many obligations, only one truly sacred obligation: to equip those we send into harm's way and to care for them and their families when they come home. We have a lot of obligations, but that's a truly sacred obligation we have.
CBS News' Natalie Brand joins us now from the White House with more. Natalie, can you break down some of the key points this new law is addressing, and specifically, how will it help veterans?
Sure, Tanya, and we should mention this bill is years in the making because that's how long veterans and their families have spent fighting for these benefits and health care related to toxic exposure. So this new law aims to make it a whole lot easier for veterans, those suffering from toxic exposure related to burn pits, to apply for their health benefits, health care, and then ultimately also, if they should pass on, perhaps their family members could also apply for some benefits. Specifically, this creates a presumptive link from their service to more than 20 different respiratory illnesses and cancers, removing the burden of proof. Again, veterans were spending years fighting the VA to try to get these benefits. This will say, for that category of respiratory illnesses and cancers, there is a link to their service near burn pits, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I should also note, Tanya and Elaine, that there were a number of veterans who inspired this legislation and advocated for it, who sadly lost their battles with cancer before seeing this day come to fruition.
And Natalie, you spoke with a veteran about today's bill signing. Given everything you just spelled out, I imagine it must have been an incredibly emotional moment. What did he tell you about the significance of this legislation?
Yeah, he's a retired Army sergeant, a veteran, Eric Donahoe, who detailed a long list of the health challenges that he still faces. He said everything from lead poisoning, uranium exposure, barium. He's got thyroid issues. They're monitoring his thyroid for cancer. He was just in the hospital before flying out here for this bill signing. He says now he's going to go back and be able to apply for a claim and try to get these benefits. I asked him during his service in Iraq whether he ever thought that these burn pits could pose this sort of health risk.
And so, Natalie, you also spoke with California Congressman Raul Ruiz, who was also a big advocate of this legislation. What did he tell you was next in the fight to ensure that our servicemen and women are safe at home and abroad?
Yeah, Congressman Ruiz was inspired to really take on this cause after hearing the case of one of his constituents, a military veteran who was battling pancreatic cancer, Jennifer Kepner. She has since passed on. So he's been tireless in trying to get this bill passed. But he says the entirely. We interviewed him a short time ago. Take a listen.
One of my bills, the Reducing Exposure to Burn Pits Act, was included in the National Defense Authorization Act and was passed out of the House. We need the Senate to keep it in so that it can get to the president's desk. But there are currently 6 burn pits still active And we cannot continue this self-inflicted wound to our service members that are causing delayed casualties of war.
So as you heard from Congressman Ruiz, there is still work to be done, even though today considered a huge victory and step forward in this fight, giving millions of veterans new hope. Tanya and Elaine.
Well, gas prices are finally dropping. We'll show you how much cheaper a summer road trip is now compared to several months ago.
Plus, takeaways from Tuesday night's primaries, how Trump-backed candidates fared in several